You have met someone, and from the moment you met them, something clicked. A door in the back of your mind, which had been locked for years, suddenly swung open. The conversation flowed. The eye contact was electric. You felt a strange, terrifying sense of familiarity, as if you were reuniting with someone you had known in a past life. You went home that night, and you didn't just replay the date. You wrote the next 5 years of your life in your head. You imagined the trips you would take. You imagined the apartment you would share. You imagined the arguments you would resolve with grace and understanding. You know exactly who they are. They are the person who will finally understand you. They are the person who will complete the sentences you haven't even spoken yet. They are the answer to the question you have been asking your entire life. But there is a problem. You have known them for 3 weeks. Or perhaps you have only spoken to them twice. Or maybe you are in a relationship with them right now. But the person you are sleeping next to feels strangely, disappointingly different from the person you talk to in your head. You are not in love with a person. You are in love with a ghost. You are in love with a character you wrote, cast, and directed. And you have simply hired this human being to play the role. And sooner or later, they are going to forget their lines. This is the psychology of idealization. Why we fall in love with fantasies, and why reality always breaks our hearts. Psychologists have a term for this specific mechanism: projection. When you meet someone new, they are a mystery. You have very little data about who they actually are. You don't know how they handle anger. You don't know their deep insecurities. You do not know that they avoid difficult conversations, or that they can be petty when they are tired. To your brain, they are a blank screen. And the human brain abhors a vacuum. It cannot handle the uncertainty of not knowing. So, you immediately power up the projector. You take all your unfulfilled needs, all your secret desires, and all your hopes for the future, and you beam them onto this stranger's face. If they are quiet, you don't assume they are boring or socially anxious. You assume they are mysterious and deep. If they are aloof and distant, you don't assume they are emotionally unavailable. You assume they are independent and stoic. If they give you a crumb of attention, you assume they are saving the whole loaf of bread just for you. You are not seeing them. You are seeing a reflection of your own hunger. You are looking at a stranger and seeing a savior. You are falling in love with a mirror. There is a specific emotional state that fuels this fantasy, and it is called limerence. Looks like love. It feels like love. It has the same butterflies, the same intensity, the same longing, but it is not love. Love is a state of connection. Limerence is a state of addiction. Love is slow and grounding. Limerence is fast and limerence is about wanting the other person. In limerence, the goal is not true intimacy. The goal is emotional regulation. You feel incomplete, anxious, or bored with your own life, and you use this other person as a dopamine source to regulate your nervous system. It operates on a cycle of intermittent reinforcement. Tease is, to some, psychological mechanism that makes gambling addictive. If you won every time you pulled the slot machine lever, you would get bored. If you lost every time, you would quit. But if you win sometimes unpredictably, rarely you become obsessed. The fantasy version of them gives you that win. In your head, they are consistent. In your head, They say exactly the right thing to heal your childhood wounds. In your head, they never leave. The fantasy is a reliable drug in an unreliable world. And this is why limerence is so dangerous. It prefers the high of the fantasy over the work of the reality. Here is the secret that no one tells you about falling in love with a fantasy. It is unactually about them. It is about you. When you daydream about this perfect relationship, pay attention to the version of yourself that exists in the daydream. In the fantasy, you are not anxious. You are not insecure. You are not lonely. In the fantasy, you are witty. You are desirable. You are safe. You are the chosen one. You haven't just idealized them. You have idealized yourself through them. You believe that if you can just secure this person, if you can just make the fantasy real, then you will finally become that better version of yourself. You are using them as a costume. You are using their perceived perfection to patch over the holes in your own self. You think, if this amazing person loves me, then I must be amazing too. So, when they disappoint you, it feels like a catastrophe. Not just because you lost them, but because you lost the version of yourself that you were when you were with them. Chapter 4. The addiction to potential, the most tragic form of this projection, is falling in love with potential. You aren't in love with who they are today. You are in love with who they could be. If they just went to therapy, if they just got that new job, if they just opened up and let you in, you see the glimmer of gold beneath the rough surface, and you convince yourself that you are the expert. You think, I can fix them. I can be the one to unlock their true self. I will love them into their potential. But this is not love. This is a project. This is a renovation. When you love someone for their potential, you are essentially telling them that who they are right now is not enough. You are holding them hostage to a future version of themselves that may never exist. You are waiting for the butterfly to emerge, getting angry at the cocoon, not realizing that you might just be in love with a caterpillar who has no intention of ever changing. You are starving to death while waiting for a feast that no one is cooking. Chapter 5. The inevitable crash. The problem with putting someone on a pedestal is that they have only one way to go: down. Eventually, reality intrudes. It always does. The person you idealized will do something human. They will be selfish. They will be forgetful. They will have a political opinion you hate. They will have a gross habit. They will fail to read your mind. When this happens, you don't just feel disappointed. You feel betrayed. You feel a sudden, visceral repulsion, what the internet calls the. You think, you aren't who I thought you were. You lied to me. But they never claimed to be who you thought they were. They were just being themselves. You were the one who wrote the script that they are now failing to perform. This is the moment where the relationship usually collapses. You punish them for breaking the illusion. You weed throw. You try to control them, to force them back into the character you created. You say things like, "Why can't you just be more romantic? Why can't you just be the way you were in the beginning?" But you are chasing a ghost. You are angry at a real human being for failing to be a god. Why do we do this? Why do we choose the fantasy over the reality, time and time again? Why do we sabotage real connections to chase unavailable ones? Because reality is terrifying. Real intimacy requires vulnerability. It requires you to be seen flaws, shame, weakness, and all by another flawed human being. It requires negotiation. It requires compromise. It requires the risk of genuine rejection. Fantasy is safe. In your fantasy, you are never rejected. In your fantasy, you are never misunderstood. In your fantasy, you have 100% control over the narrative. By falling in love with a fantasy, you get to simulate the feeling of closeness without any of the actual risk. It is a defense mechanism. It is a way to keep people at a distance while convincing yourself that you are looking for connection. You are hiding behind the projector screen. You are choosing the safety of a dream over the danger of a life. How do you stop? How do you wake up? How do you learn to love a person instead of a ghost? First, you have to mourn. You have to grieve. You have to grieve the relationship that never happened. You have to grieve the future you promised yourself. It feels like a breakup, even if you never really dated. And that is, okay, the pain is real, even if the relationship wasn't. Then, you have to look at the person in front of you or the next person you meet, and you have to practice radical acceptance. You have to look at their flaws, their mediocrity, their humanity, and ask yourself a hard question. Do I want this? Whose task it is without any edits? If they never changed from this moment forward, would I still stay? If the answer is no, you must walk away. Not because they are bad, but because you are hungry for a meal they cannot serve. But if the answer is yes, then you must do the work of taking them off the pedestal and placing them on the ground. True love is not a movie. It is not a montage of perfect sunsets, witty banter, and psychic connection. True love is ordinary. It is boring. It is the quiet comfort of being in a room with someone who knows your worst habits and stays anyway. It is the friction of disagreement and the repair that follows. It is the safety of knowing that you are loved, not for your potential, but for your reality. The fantasy is a high, but the reality is a home, and you cannot live in a high. Eventually, you have to come down, and if you are lucky, if you are brave enough to smash the projector, you will find that the earth with all its mess, its dirt, and its imperfection is the only place where anything real can actually grow.